Thank you for joining us this morning. Now let's get the show on the road. You know, this issue of petrol, even though we hear some rhetoric that it doesn't affect everybody in Nigeria, it does. Even if you work on the farm, you need to get your goods from the farm to the market. And you need to move it there somehow. You're not going to push your stuff to the market on trucks, are you? I mean, as in pushcart. You're going to put them on some form of transportation, and that form uses fuel, some kind of fuel. And the making of that fuel is part of the downstream sector of the petroleum industry. So the downstream sector is part of the industry that involves refining, distributing, marketing, and the transportation and retailing of fuel. The industry supplies about 40 million liters of petroleum products per day to the Nigerian population. Now, we are going to look at this downstream sector in detail this morning, and we have two experts who are going to explain to us in clear terms so that we know exactly what they talk about when they talk about refining, when they talk about transportation, and the marketing of crude oil products. It's my pleasure to welcome in the studio with us in Lagos, Dr. Emeka Akaborgu, energy and maritime expert. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. And from our Abuja studio, we have Professor Billy Okoye, who was a Group General Manager, CEO, NNPC Crude Oil Marketing Division, and he was responsible for marketing and selling Nigeria's crude oil and natural gas liquids. He is currently the Executive Chairman of Raffles Energies Limited. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Now, since I have your attention already, let me start with you. We hear that the downstream sector has been deregulated. Or I might be using the wrong word. Please correct me if I'm wrong. They say it's been deregulated. So how is it that the NNPC still dictates to us the price of fuel at the pump?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me this morning. And good morning to the good people of Nigeria. Now, when we say deregulated, what does it mean? It simply means that the market is no more regulated. Before now, the market was regulated. Recall that we had a body called the PPPRA that was regulating, dictating the prices of petroleum products. Now the government has deregulated it. What that means is that there's no more regulation. So now you sell as you buy. The market determines the price. So NNPC does not determine the price of petroleum products. Now everybody has its own fuel outlet. NNPC has their own filling stations, just like the other marketers also have their own filling stations. So it's a question of determining your own. So what NNPC is doing is that NNPC is determining their own prices, not every person's prices. So NNPC determines the prices of petroleum products for NNPC fuel stations. Because the market is deregulated, so everybody now determine your own price. You sell as you buy. So we always get confused that NNPC is dictating prices. No. NNPC sets the price for their own products, and everybody is free to sell at his own price.
But isn't it strange that everybody's price, once NNPC changes its price, everybody else changes, but nobody is cheaper than NNPC?
It's it's naturally the market. This is competition. So because NNPC today has the highest number of fuel stations, it's kind of the market leader.
Do they?
So what happens in the open market is when the market leader changes prices, everybody seems to follow. But it doesn't mean that the market leader is dictating the prices for anybody. No. So people just follow. But the prices NNPC determines is for their own stations. Now people can follow. Nothing stops anybody from selling. If NNPC is selling 1,000, you can sell at 900. Okay, depending on how you buy it. And don't forget that these prices are determined mainly by the prices of the international prices of crude oil. Mm-hmm. As crude oil goes up, it follows that the prices of petroleum products also go up.
Okay.
But this is just in the short run. And I always tell Nigerians, no pain, no gain. Look at what happened during the SIM card era. Some of us, we are adults, earlier on knew that we bought SIM cards at about 25,000 naira. Then, today, if you laugh too much, they will give you SIM card free. So the same thing is going to happen in the petroleum products. Now, everybody, now that it has been deregulated, subsidy is gone, so everybody is now free to import. What is going to happen now is that people will start to go into massive importation, which is not what I campaign for. I campaign for massive exportation. I campaign for massive support to the refineries, both the NNPC refineries and the other refineries in Nigeria, so that we'll be a massive exporter of petroleum products. And once we start doing that, what is going to happen is that the prices, the market forces, supply will be more than demand. And when supply is more than demand, the price will come down. And I tell you, with the Gen Zs that we have today, they put their heads, and before you know it, they will get smarter ways of getting products cheaper, far cheaper than what we're seeing today. Okay. So I'm very optimistic that Nigerians are going to enjoy in the long run. Let's just be a little while, and the prices will crash, just like the SIM cards prices have crashed.
We will believe you. But Dr. Akabogo, now all this upping and downing between NNPC and Dangote, what do you make of it all? Dangote is saying to us that I think he's selling at 995 or something, and that he has enough fuel, but he's not getting enough off-takers. What do you make of all this? We don't seem to know what the truth is about the matter.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And let me use the opportunity to say a very good morning to my very good brother, Professor Bidi Okoye. NNPC, Dangote are market players. They are both in the market as operators. So they need to come to a commercial agreement regarding offtake. So NNPC need not offtake from Dangote. Dangote need not sell to NNPC.
Yes.
That's the fact. But I think what is important is that the market is clearly defined and that there is free entry and free exit. Okay. So at the end of the day, if Dangote has a great offer for NNPC, NNPC very likely will have absolutely no choice but to offtake from Dangote.
Okay.
If Dangote has an excellent offer for Nigerian distributors and marketers, they probably will find that they have absolutely no other choice but to take from Dangote. So it's a free market, and that's the essence of what Professor Okoye was saying earlier. It's a deregulated market. I think the challenge really is that there's been quite a bit of opacity with regard to the pricing and the terms for these engagements from both Dangote and NNPC.
And government.
I think that's the issue. And once we are able to derive significant transparency across the system, then we'll begin to see that things are not as complicated as they're being made out to be.
Dr. Akabogo, just 2 nights ago, was it yesterday, the Ipman was telling us that what they import is cheaper than Dangote's fuel. How is that possible? Because I have here a whole list of what you have to pay when you import. And it's a long list. FOB, freight, insurance, jetty storage, financing, foreign exchange costs, NPA, NIMASA charges, custom charges. All those are knocked off when you refine your fuel locally. So how is it that when they import and they pay all these charges, the fuel still comes out cheaper than Dangote's fuel?
Well, I can't speak without the facts, okay? And Dangote, as far as I know, has not given publicly any outline of pricing for its products. But if we go by what Ipman is saying, Ipman is fully entitled to source products from wherever it may across the world that meets its commercial expediency, okay? And at the same time, we don't know the pricing components that go into the Dangote refinery. Don't forget that this refinery is based in Nigeria, but that the component constituents to facilitate the final output is largely sourced abroad.
Yeah.
So, and it's a new refinery. There's been a lot of financing which has gone in. So it is not unlikely that the component constituents that make up the final pricing for him is probably more significant than what the refiners abroad may come out at. So at the end of the day, this is a commercial engagement, a commercial relationship, and each party will want to optimize its position towards getting what it wants. But I think what is more important is, what do Nigerians want? What do Nigerians desire? And that should be the driving force behind a lot of decisions which need to be
And that's
made.
exactly where I'm going to. So for Nigerians, there's a whole lot of uncertainties. Today, you wake up, it's 1,000 naira. Tomorrow, you wake up, it's 1,100. Next tomorrow. Have we been able to find a balance here now? Or, as Professor Okoye said, it's just continue to be something that will be determined, I'm talking about the pricing now, to be determined by, the international price of petrol?
The truth is, because the market is deregulated, you probably will never have an even pricing over a very long period of time. Our prices will ebb and flow. That is what will happen going forward. The question is, from a government and a governance point of view, what can be done to ensure that within the context of this ebb and flow, citizens derive optimum value, both from a pricing point of view and from a product point of view? And I believe the government has a lot to do and could do a lot even within a deregulated system.
Okay, and let me quickly go to Abuja. Professor Okoye, you've talked about that you are advocating for local production. What exactly are the challenges towards, achieving this? I know Dangote is doing what it's doing now, but let's look at other players. We have NNPC too. We have the Port Harcourt refineries. We have, all of the refineries that need to be at full capacity, and they're not.
Okay, so why are they not producing at stock capacity? Well, for the NNPC refineries, like we've had the NNPC group's CEO speak a number of times, and we have heard from NNPC top management that refineries are undergoing some repairs and they're going to start production, resume production as soon as possible. So we are looking forward to that. Don't forget, these are old refineries that we have built way back. So there's that need that they have to undergo these repairs and come back on stream. But just like the modular refineries are also there, they've not been producing PMS, which is otherwise known as petrol, because of the era of regulation, where if they produce, they won't be able to sell. Now the market is deregulated, so we expect that some of them will start gearing up to produce petrol, which will go into the market. But the fact is that today they are complaining of crude, the feedstock, we all know that there are issues with production of meeting even our OPEC quota for the crude production, and NNPC and the Ministry of Petroleum Resources are taking a lead on this to ensure that we ramp up our production. And the problems have been there. The activities of the militants, the pipeline vandalization, the dearth of investments in the fossil fuel production. Today, the world is transiting to renewable energy, so there's no appetite to invest more on crude oil production from the foreign banks. So that's why you hear NNPC running to Afrexim Bank and local banks to finance some of these things. So we hope that with all the efforts being put in place and with the support of the authorities, we, like the NMDPRA, we are talking the already at OTL, and we are the NMDPRA had pledged their support to the local refiners, and we hope that those efforts will start yielding fruits and will start turning out products. We spoke extensively at the conference about solutions. We profiled solutions because it was a practical conference. We profiled solutions, and the refiners, we are also there. The local refiners, we are also at the conference where we spoke extensively. And so lessons learned, they are going back to the drawing board, and the mistakes they made, we highlighted the mistakes that had been made, because in this industry, actually, there are deliverables that must be in place before you set up any such projects. Before you take what they call final investment decision for any project in this industry, there are basic deliverables that must be in place, and two of the critical ones are: you must ensure your feedstock is there. You must have agreement for your feedstock. You must have agreement for your off-takers. Okay, so some of our people have gone into these projects without ensuring that these things are mere signing MOU. Like we all know, MOU is a gentleman's agreement. Is not binding. So you are supposed to have firm, very firm, concrete arrangements, signed, sealed, executed, before you take the FID and go into the project. But okay, a lot of these things have been done. Apparently, there are very few of us commercial professionals in the system, so adequate consultations were not made. But going forward, they've taken the lessons, and we're trying to find ways to ensure that crude is available. But again, it's an open market. It's highly capital-intensive industry. Even before the producers, the crude producers go into production, they've had this agreement with the banks, and they have their off-takers. So it's also difficult to break that chain. Otherwise, we'll be having an international bad image for Nigerian investors, for people to come and invest in Nigeria, if they find out that you cannot keep to the terms of your agreement. So it's a problem, but in the industry we are trying to find ways to ensure that crude gets to the local refiners. And I'm very optimistic, sincerely, I'm very optimistic that in less than no time we'll get to where we want to be, and that is being mass exporters of petroleum products instead of exporting crude oil. Exporting crude oil is not in our interest. The best is for us to refine, because exporting crude oil, like I said, is like way back when we were exporting cocoa and then importing beverages. Okay, so now we're exporting crude oil and importing petroleum products. No, we're supposed to shift from that, and we spoke extensively on this. So we're now going to do massive refining of this crude oil and then export it.
Professor,
by the time we export these products,
Professor,
can you see the amount of money that's going to come into this economy?
Professor,
and then we'll go back to the era when we are talking of we don't know what to do with money. Now
Professor,
there's so much money there.
Professor,
so I'm very optimistic.
Does a deregulated downstream sector make for growth in the oil and gas industry?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That is what we have been preaching, what we have been asking for, to deregulate the market so that, and I give an example again of the telecoms industry. Before, we used to go to, when we were kids, we used to go to Nitel to wait for calls, to call our people overseas. And in those days, we used to send telegrams.
Tally
Today,
number.
can you imagine the number of people employed in the telecoms industry because of deregulation? So the same thing is going to happen to this industry. You know, we've been crying for this. We've been agitating for this. I mean, this is my third decade in this industry. So we've been agitating for this. And thankfully, the government, and that's why some of us were happy when the government made the announcement the first day of the president in power. He said subsidy is gone. Okay? Just like everything, most of the things in Nigeria, it takes time to be implemented. But I'm happy that today it's been implemented. You know, it's just a little time and we'll all start reaping the benefits. What we are seeing in telecoms is small compared to what we're going to see in the oil industry. Everybody's going to be happy, I can assure you this.
Okay, let me come to you, Dr. Emeka. Ipman, Petron, and some other players in the industry, they have said they are almost having some of their members having to shut down. Why? NMDPR gave out statistics, I think between May last year and August, that the consumption of fuel came down by about 92%. And because of the costs, not many Nigerians put their cars on the road. And so not many filling station or fuel station are in business. And they are also seeking intervention from the federal government. Do you think this is the way to go, and how soon should this help? Because if more and more fuel stations close, then where does that leave us?
Well, energy is a utility for humankind. So every single activity we're involved in involves energy. So even if there has been a reduction in the demand, it doesn't reduce the activities that human beings have to involve themselves in. So that's why what is happening now is that there is an expanding bouquet of options to meet the energy needs of Nigerians beyond petrol. CNG and other alternatives are being explored, which could come in a bit cheaper. So my advice to a number of these organizations will be to become a bit more diverse in the offering which they have, and become a bit more creative in the management of the forecourts. Because at the end of the day, it's not just sale of gasoline that sustains. In fact, you find out some filling station operators will tell you that gasoline constitutes probably just about 20 to 25% of the profits that they make. They've got a forecourt, they've got a location which is excellent, and they're able to optimize economic value across the value chain and across the other bouquets of services that they're offering. But the fact is, if you have a deregulated market and you have price increases, it makes you and I to try and become more efficient in our use of energy. So I was coming here this morning and I was given the option of either coming with my car or being picked up by Channels Television. I said, please, Channels, come and pick me and drop me, because I know I'm going to save quite a bit on that. So that is one way. In many ways, we turn off our lights, we turn off our air conditioning, we watch things. So as a country, we need to become much more efficient in our use of energy. And in doing that, the operators also have to become more efficient in the management of resources and in the consolidation of the offerings that they have to ensure both value for themselves as businesses and value to consumers who they want to keep coming back.
And there's still a lot of concerns about the CNG that you spoke about.
Obviously. So again, these are things which have been talked about a lot. He mentioned the OTL conference, which we were discussing, the industry was discussing. And the key thing there was people who are installing CNG kits in their vehicles must do it properly with licensed, certified organizations. And that's where NMDPRA as a regulator comes in. NMDPRA has licensed organizations. So again, it comes down to our habits as Nigerians, as individuals. Do we just want to get the next available thing, or do we want to ensure that we follow the right process with licensed organizations for these things? And that's where that habits is important. So if we follow the right path, CNG has been certified to be a cheaper and very safe option. Yes.
Okay. This is where we have to leave it for today. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Emeka Akabogu, energy and maritime expert. He joined us in our studio in Lagos, as well as Professor Billy Okoye, Executive Chairman, Raffles Energies Limited, who joined us from our Abuja studios. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us. I think we all have a clearer picture now, even though
Thank you.
What we all would want was cheaper prices for fuel, whether it is CNG or petrol or diesel, whichever one it is. We'd like to pay less than 1,100, 1,200 naira. That's what Nigerians want.
Or at least we have
because
a stable
coupled
price.
with this price, there's also, because the price of fuel affects the prices of everything else. And it is based on this that everything in the market is now practically unbuyable. Yes, my coinage, my coinage.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us. We'll be back in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Join us.